A major disconnect exists today on the topic of leadership. I have heard senior leaders in business, government, and nonprofit organizations talk about the need to push decision-making down in their organizations. They do this with the goal of making their organizations more responsive to their customers and constituencies and more competitive against rivals. Rather than wait until a problem moves up through the management levels, quality and quick response-minded organizations need people who can solve problems and pursue opportunities as soon as they arise. Minimizing response time has never been more important in an organization. And yet, while organizations need leaders at every level and in every function if they are to quicken their response time, senior executives still talk, and even worse, think in terms of leaders, followers, subordinates, and direct reports. Although these executives might espouse the value of flatness, they still think in hierarchical terms. Just as bad, most of today's management literature and many management education and training programs continue to divide the world into leaders and followers. Not only is this not actionable, how can people at every level and in every function solve problems as soon as they arise if they do not have the authority to do so? It creates confusion, a great deal of organizational second-guessing, and anxiety. How people think about leadership determines the results they get. Even better, how people think about leadership determines if they get results. Poor leadership, poor results. Shortly after the terrible events of September 11, 2001, I was at a meeting where FBI Director Robert Mueller explained why his agency was unable to act on important information it had in advance of the terrorist plot. Mueller admitted that agents within the FBI knew the names of the 9/11 plotters, and even their whereabouts. The agents who had this information tried to alert their superior that an attack was imminent, and that an organizational response must be prepared. And yet, as history shows, the FBI and other governmental security organizations failed to do anything at all. In explaining his organization's lapses, Mueller said that in the culture of the FBI, agents with information are not authorized to act on that information. If they know something is imminent, they must send what they know up through the FBI's chain of command to people with decision-making authority. Because the FBI operates in a dangerous world, the chain of command is rigidly constructed to prevent the organization from acting on erroneous information. But in the case of the FBI, no action was taken because in a hierarchy, the people at the top, who are expected to be the most knowledgeable, tend to look at information supplied by their subordinates with condescension. If something as important and dreaded as a terrorist plot were really underway, the people at the top think they would surely be aware of it. And so information vital to preventing a terrorist plot was transmitted into one of the FBI's many organizational black holes, unable to be acted on in time. Later, in another organizational context, an experienced accountant, Sharon Watkins, who was working at Enron, signaled to the chairman of that organization, Ken Lay, that something was wrong with the company's many partnerships and the manner in which they were kept off the company's books. But rather than acting on his subordinates' information by taking it to the board, Lay chose to ignore Watkins. If something were really wrong, he reasoned, surely he, as chairman, would have known it. After all, Lay was the man who turned a humble Texas energy company into the darling of Wall Street. Had Lay listened to the insights and warnings of an underling, he could have prevented what became the world's largest bankruptcy up to that time. Later still, more than 2 years before the onset of one of the worst financial crises ever, I heard Louis Ranieri warn a room full of leaders in the banking, investment, private equity, hedge fund, and insurance industry that the subprime mortgage market was about to blow up, and that when it did, the consequences would be catastrophic. Why should the people in the room have paid attention to Ranieri? Because he was one of the inventors of mortgage-backed securities, the very product that was about to explode and bring down the world's financial system. The penalty for not paying attention to Ranieri was harsh, and many leaders in that room lost their jobs, their money, and even their institutions. They did so because they believed themselves wiser than the amiable and slightly disheveled inventor of these powerful but misused financial tools. After all, though Ranieri invented a market, he was an outsider, and they prided themselves on knowing that market far better than he did.